everyone. Um, nice to meet you all. I'm Camila. I am a business analyst. I work for TrackForce Valiant TrackTech, and today I want to talk to you about how to improve your company's data governance. So, a little bit more about me to begin. Um, I am a business analyst, as I mentioned, for a little bit, almost 2 years now. And I'm originally from Brazil, but I live in Montreal, in Canada. I love music. I am learning how to play drums. It's my favorite instrument, and I love reading. Okay, let's begin. So I believe it's kind of sound like a negative thought, but it's a more realistic one. I feel like it's impossible to escape data issues because it seems like they follow you whenever you go. So I've been seeing lots of different data issues and experiencing them and solving them. So, what I want to do today is I want to share my experience with you all and just make sure that you can take some of my ideas and probably solve them in your end as well. I want to begin with definitions. So, data governance, it's a big buzzword that sometimes it's difficult to define. And in reality, it is a lot of things in one single definition, but it's simple if you think about it. So the definition is data governance is actually putting together people, processes, and technology. That is a lot, but you keep that in mind and you understand what I mean. We want to put all of these three together so that people can, one, trust your data, and two, use it effectively. As I mentioned, there's a lot of buzzwords in the data world. Here are three of them, and we don't want to get confused with data governance and data enablement and data security. So let's differentiate each one of them. Data governance will answer questions such as what data do we have about product X that we're selling right now? And really, you have to put some thought into behind this is what do we need to know about the product that we want to sell? What's enough for us? What do we don't care? So data enablement is different because it's more analytical. So we answer questions such as how many of the product X did we sell last year? And can we probably compare that to this year? Are we better? Are we worse? Is there more products being sold? And data security really is making sure that people who should have access to the data have it and people who shouldn't don't. So we need to make sure that, for example, HR data is not visible to everyone in the company because it's sensitive data. Okay, now that we know the definitions, we're a little bit better at understanding what data governance is, but it's a very complex initiative for one person. So I wanted to bring this sentence, and I hope it resonates with everyone as it resonates with me. So, for a data governance program to function at its highest level, there must be an intrinsic desire on the part of the company and its employees to do the right thing. That is just to say that I do believe that sometimes the initiative can come from you, from one person, but I don't think the job can be done by only this one person. I think you can maybe initiate the conversation with your teammates, with everyone in the company or whatever. But everything that involves data culture, it's not centralized in one person. So, with my experience, I have brought today to you 6 common issues that I've been running into over and over, and I'm going to show you how I solve them and hope that it helps you too. So, number one, uh, people don't really understand why behind they need to care about the data. It's very easy to find people that don't really care about data or don't see themselves as an important part of the data journey in the company. It's funny because people who work with different systems all day, they're either part of the input of the data or just consuming it in a way. They don't see themselves as really touching the data daily when in reality they are. So one way that we can solve that, it's instilling a data culture in your company. And culture is always tricky because it's always something that should come from everyone in your company. So there's always like a general culture in the company, no matter what it is. But here we're talking about data only. So it's again not something that you're gonna do by yourself, but you can start the conversation and you can kind of in a good way influence people around you to think about it. So every time, for example, I'm a business analyst, so I talk to a lot of different departments, different teams, and you need to not necessarily question them with this specific questions that I have here, but bring them back and circle around these questions in the conversation so that people are thinking about it in a more strategic way and not just I want to finish this, I want to deliver, I don't really work with data. So really making them think about why do we need to capture that piece of data in your company, or why do you want to report the data that you need in that specific way. Number two, so no one has a clear idea of what are their roles with data in all the different stages. So this one to me is really it's linked to the first one. They're kind of similar, but um, this one is more about everybody's roles. So what exactly is my role in this data process? I I like the sentence as well. I'm going to show you the book where I'm getting them from at the end of the presentation. But when everyone is responsible, no one is responsible. That is really true. And I've been seeing that over and over when no one can point to a certain ownership of a process, a piece of document, a report that you generated for the data, or anything really. It's really hard to get to the point. Um, so my solution to this, it's really a people process. So you need to bring your stakeholders closer and closer to you and make them realize that we the process that they are involved is probably not only them. It's very hard. It is going to be like a something that it's done by one person and consumed by that same person or to only one other. So what I mean by that is sometimes we as data practitioners we tend to have and I don't want to say better but a higher level view of data processes. And that really helps us because we understand that once step one is complete, then they flow into step two and three. But what is usual and completely normal is that people will only see, I'm part of step one. I only care about this. So when you talk to them, you have to bring them closer. By what I mean by bringing them closer is making sure that they understand the full process and not only what's required by them to finish step one, but what will happen in step two and who's going to be impacted by that. So, what really happens if you don't commit to your step one? Who's going to suffer the consequences? It's really making sure that everyone understands their responsibility. And I really am a fan, and some people might hate me for that, but I like to document as much as I can uh, and that is a culture that is part of my team. And we want to have the ownership and the owners sign off. So we have to have a stamp that will make sure that people know what they're asking for and that we know who's asking for it and who's providing us with definitions, with meaning behind the data. Number three, not everyone has the same data skills. So I mentioned a positive thing that I believe data practitioners have, which is the higher level view of data processes in the company. We understand more in the what happens for the whole company and not only for that specific department. One negative thing that I think sometimes people in technology overall can have is that we believe that our skills apply to everybody else. It's, for example, something that you can see when somebody is using a lot of technical words to talk to someone who's not technical and don't come from the same background as they do. So, for me, this can be solved by applying data literacy programs in the company. So again, quick definition here is a deep data literacy is a deep understanding of and ability to derive meaningful information from all kinds of data. So I think that we have to level up people. We're never going to be the same level of data skills across the company. That is impossible. Either because the employees will change over time or because your process will change over time. But that is also a reason why you should be running after your data literacy goals. And I think a good way of starting that is probably something that it's really questioning people where they think they are. And you can even do some sorts of tests to really see where they are and not just have them tell you. I did that in my company as an example. Um, we wanted to start our data literacy program, and we were like, where do we begin? So we just decided to send out a survey to every employee in the company and have them answer some questions from their own perception of how they were individually doing and how they compared their work to the teams in other departments, other teams, which was really interesting. So I think you need to, first of all, before starting this step, is understanding where everyone is. And after that, you see, okay, this is a big gap that we have, and we cannot keep going like this. And so focus on something first, on that little, on that big gap, and then you can build on top of it. I really believe that this process of data literacy is something that is recurring. So you have to keep changing. As I mentioned, your processes will change, your members will change. So you need to think about that and make sure that it's not something that happened in 2015, but that it's still true to today. So number four, it's people think of data governance as a departmental concern. This relates to the first issues that I showed here, which is people don't see themselves as part of the process. And it's really common for people who mostly for the ones who don't really have a more technical background anyways, to think that data governance in any data related structure you wanna do is something that IT should care about, which is not true. We just saw that part of the definition of data governance is really putting the technology, people, and processes together. So there's no way the IT one department of people who are usually more worried about and doing a great job at your data security in your company that they can take care of everything else that we've been discussing. So I really think that people need to understand that IT it's one department. They take part of some things, but not all things. And when you talk to your data stakeholders, it's really about making them understand that sometimes putting and thinking of data as an IT thing is really kind of even delegating responsibility and thinking, why do I need to care about this if somebody else is already doing that? When that's not true. we need people to work together. So this has to be a more general effort and not only something that's done by a small group of people, um, because that is one excluding people and, as I mentioned, delegating responsibility, and we don't want that. Number five. So number five is lack of leadership support. This one, it's a completely people one, um, and it's something that I struggle because not every time you have easy access to your leadership. If you are not in a leadership position yourself, it might be even harder. So, um, what I found is that when you bring up the buzzwords and oh, we want to start this initiative, we're going to use X amount of our time to this and that, people are always on board and they never say, no, please don't start a data governance initiative in our company. But they also don't jump in right away to help, and that is okay. That is fine. We cannot expect that everyone has a certain amount of their time that they were what, just waiting for you to come and say they needed you as well. Um, but you need to again start a conversation and explain why you need them to be part of the process. So, for example, when we talk about data literacy, I'm not only talking about doing a training or talk sessions, whatever you want to do, with only the operation side of the company or only the people who are actually touching your data and doing your reports. You want to include leadership as well. I believe for two reasons. Because it'll be easier to get people engaged with you and your data processes if they see the leaders are also there. It's something for them to only hear the data talk come from the data team and from you, but not seeing the same being applied or being asked for when they talk to their leaders. So if the leadership is part of the program, that is great. And also, why would we assume that leadership has a good level of data literacy? That might not be true. So it's not only because of their position and the type of data they need in their everyday that they're good at it. And they should even have a little bit of better uh, a level of literacy there. So you also need to understand where they are at and what they need, what are their gaps, what they expect from their teams. So you have to be aligned with them. And this is something usually, they're always running around, they don't have any time. So as with anybody else, I really think here, but with leadership even more, you have to start and not wait for them. They will never reach out to you and ask you for this type of things to be completed. So it's something that you see the need, but you also understand why they need to be there. So you explain it to them and you try and pull them in. For example, I work with a small BI team and we do a lot of dashboards. So it's just really putting data together in a fun way, not fun, but in an easy way to visualize. So it's this example that I have for CXO dashboards. I really think um, that when leadership, especially leadership, come to us with requests, it's always something that is so summarized that is really hard to understand why they need that and what exactly they mean by what they need. Um, so when I work with dashboards in my team, what we really focus on, first of all, is getting the definitions. And oh, I want to see metric X, Y, and Z. So, okay, how do you define them, first of all? The way that we believe, we might think that it is defined might not be your same definition because of our previous experience, because maybe you're new to the company and you did it in a different way. All sorts of things that we have to think about before actually jumping into the data itself. And always get the stamp of approval for your data definitions, and not only trying to deliver as fast as you can. Um, it's just one example that I have, and it's something that um, I believe it's very common for anyone who works in BI or any sort of data job to have this sorts of requests come to you. Number six, and this is the last one, it's not having a community. This one is deep. I think that it's really tough when you sometimes realize that your data team, your tech team, it's not really as invested in as the other departments in your company. Sometimes that'll happen. Um, it might not be something that you have experienced, but it's something that I have, and I'm really sure that more people will resonate with this. Again, guess who has to do the work? It's you. So, what I mean by that is just the community will not build itself, the culture will not get started without someone properly thinking about it and doing something, taking action. Same for um, this issue. So I think you can start to build your own community and really creating the spaces where people can be open about their issues, where they can come because they know they'll learn something, but also they can teach something. What I realized is that, and this I believe, again, it's something for everyone, that it's in tech, it's that when we create these sorts of spaces, sometimes all we do is just spit out a bunch of information and not really listen. So I when I work on my community initiatives, I really think about how can we make this inclusive and what can we learn from the people that are joining this initiative with us. And of course we do have a lot of great information that we want to pass on, but we cannot be the only ones talking about it. So when you think about it, think about this multi-directional way of having a space where people can also speak. And maybe you can use this same space, and or you can create different channels, um, but make sure that you have this easy access for people to see your most important information related to your data communication. They have to know, okay, if I want to know about this, I'm going to this place. And it's centralizing, making it easier access so that they can be informed and also maybe pose questions. I already talked about the data readiness survey. That was the survey that I did in my company to understand where everybody data literacy level was. And I have another example, which is what we call the BI showcase. And my team and I, we developed this for a few months, and we were doing this. It was actually just a once a month thing for about 1 hour, and we invited everyone in the company. We prepared our what we believe was better, our best work of what we had developed over the years, and just presented that to everyone. Um, Really, we understood by doing that that a lot of people didn't even know what our team actually did. And that was a great chance for us to explore how we get to the end of delivering a dashboard. So people will sometimes only see your deliverable, but they actually don't need to think about what is the process behind that. But you should take the time to actually explain it to them because they do find it interesting. Most of the time, they don't know, and it'll help them how to reach out to you for the next problems, the next questions that they have. At least that's what we found. It was really helpful. that was it. Those were the six common issues that I keep seeing and running into in myself. I hope you get to apply some of them, and I would love to talk to you about them. If you want to reach out to me, I'll post my contact later. First of all, here are some of the references that I used in this present to make this presentation. As I mentioned, I am living in Montreal, and if you live here, I just want to give you a tip that you have access to the library, the BANQ library, and it's so huge. You can read a lot of books from there online, or you can go to library if you want. But what I usually do is I just search for the ones that I want online. There's a lot of technical books in there. I don't want to say all of the O'Reilly books are there, but a lot, really. So I've used the Data Governance, the Definitive Guide. It's a great book. Um, all of my sentences from the talk are from there. And if you want to think about in more detail about your data literacy program, I highly recommend the Data Literacy Fundamentals. It is a short book, but it contains a lot of great insights. If you want to reach out to me, I write in a blog. Yeah, I know it's 2023, but I still enjoy um, writing and reading blogs, technical blogs. And you can find me at camilahenrique.com. You can subscribe to it. Whenever I post anything new, you receive it. My talk's going to be there too. Maybe this is how you're actually watching my talk, and thank you for accessing it. And I want to take a second to thank all the volunteers and everyone that make women tech makers happen. I think it is a wonderful event. I always have a lot of fun. This year was my first year as a speaker, and I'm really happy that I did it. I for sure when I come back, if you welcome me, um, I do love all the talks that I watch. It's always very inspiring. So really just want to say thank you for putting all of this together. I think it's really just wonderful. Thank you so much. Reach out to me if you want to discuss any questions, any ideas, or maybe you implemented something that I discussed here today, and I would love to hear about it. Ciao.